Okay, it's just about 3 o'clock. We do have all of the board members here, so I'll call the Board of Trustees of the Greater Dayton RTA meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary, please take the roll call.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hoagie?
Here.
Ms. Byrd?
Here.
Mr. Corrado?
Here.
Mr. Depp?
Here.
Ms. Hairston?
Here.
Ms. Howard?
Present.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Here.
And Mr. Williamson?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. The minutes of the meeting of May 5th, 2015 were mailed to all of the board members in advance. Unless a board member requests a reading of those minutes, are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing no one who wants a reading of those minutes and hearing no corrections or additions, let the record show that these minutes have been approved as submitted. The next item on the agenda is always a very pleasant part of our meeting. It's employee recognition. Mark, you're going to do that.
Thank you, Franz. Some of this is expected, and Allison's going to take over in a minute. But first, I wanted to present something to an employee who I talked about at last month's board meeting. Mr. Hoff, who is maybe a name but not always a face to a lot of folks, is the young man I spoke of last month that really has been the key to getting this bike share program launched. And as I'm going to repeat what I said last month, because something that really struck me was the night of the launch, after, oh my God, a couple months of lots of work, day and night. I was a little worried about his marriage for a while, you know, but Andrea's a good person. So, but it was really odd. And when I'm sitting at home, 11:30, the night of the launch, I get this email from John saying, when I get a chance, when things calm down, could I talk to him about things he could have done better? And first I was amazed he was still awake at 11:30 that night. It was just incredible to me, and it really spoke to the way he's approached this. He was asked to do this. This was not something John has in his job description other than other duties. So, you know, we've been really thrilled with the launch and how it's been handled from our perspective, and a lot of that credit really goes to John. So I want to do something special, and the day we did the launch, you know, when we cut the ribbon, I always grab my piece of the ribbon and think somebody special should get this, and I thought we should wrap that around something even better, which are some images related to the launch. And John, if you want to join me up front, I'd like to present you with this. Some memories of what's happened in the past couple of months here, including the bike shop, ribbon cutting, or station, I think. All kinds of photos like that. You guys probably want to see that.
Yes, yes.
We put together a really neat collection along with that piece of the ribbon,
Nice.
the actual ribbon cutting. You, me, and the mayor. There's a keeper.
You and the mayor.
We wanted you to have this, something special, and thank you again for all your hard work. It's been a great pleasure working on this project with you. We were just down there, what, an hour ago, talking more about bikes, so thanks so much for all you've done.
John, on the behalf of the board, I want to extend to you our sincerest thanks and appreciation for what you have done in representing the RTA in such an outstanding manner. Thank you very much.
It's incredible. He did a little bit of everything. John put together bikes, he delivered bikes, he put stations on the ground, he's debugged things, he's hired technicians. I could just go through a laundry list, and it's been great. And he technically works for Gene, but he's pretty much been on loan to Bike Share for a while, and we're just thrilled to death. So thank you. Well, not to upstage you, John, but another one of my favorite things is driving a bus. Brian knows that for sure. And I just love it when we get an opportunity to celebrate Safe Driving Awards. We do that every year, but we don't always get to award people for an accomplishment like we have today, which is joining our Million Mile Club. Just start to think about that in your head, what it would take to get 1 million accident-free miles driving a bus for us. And I was reminded this morning, Jim Napier and I were talking about some other issues. We've got a new radio system coming, and there was some fancy terminology I didn't understand, and he said, it's a base station, Mark. So Jim knows how far back I go. But it reminded me that it was a lot different 40 years ago when I was a bus driver. There were no cell phones. There weren't the level of distractions that these folks face today, day in and day out, all day long. There's just a myriad of challenges that I just don't think were the same that long ago. And our folks do a great job day in and day out. I mean, you've seen some of the data. We compare very well to our peers in safety. But 1 million miles, I mean, that is when you can get to that point, it's just incredible. I'm very jealous of all of you, but I'm very proud. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Allison and Jim to talk a little more about who's here and why they're here.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. If you don't already know, June is actually National Safety Month, so we like to celebrate these times during the month of June. These folks actually reached the Million Mile Club last year for 2014, but again, like I said, June is National Safety Month, and we do all of our recognition for safety during this month, including our upcoming Safety and Wellness Day, which is June 17th, so I'm just doing a little plug for that too. The first person we want to recognize is David Smith. So if you could come on up here, we'll present you with your plaque for Million Mile Club, as well as your ring that has a couple of diamonds in it. So. So all of these drivers are getting their plaques and their rings that I said have diamonds in them. And there are several other folks that haven't quite made the Million Mile Club yet this year, but they did get inducted, or they did get a ring this year, so we're rather proud of them as well. So I don't want to those folks to go unnoticed. If you want to stay up here with us, that'd be great.
Yeah. I think he was trying to.
You just
Just so you guys know, while he's shaking their hands up there, 1 million miles is like 20 years of safe driving. So that's a lot. That's without a preventable accident. So it's 20 or 20 plus in some cases. So quite an accomplishment. The next person we want to recognize is Rob Williams. You want to come on up, Rob? And Rob's also receiving his plaque and his ring with a couple of diamonds in it. Thank you very much. And
Sorry, photo op.
We can do a photo all together.
Okay, that'd be great.
Awesome. And you want to go ahead and shake their hand, that'd be great.
We'd like to see one of the rings. Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Can you share one of your ring?
While they're taking a look at that, I think I'd like to make a comment on that. Years ago, there was a debate, especially during the difficult years. Jim will recall, we were financially strapped. Could we continue our commitment, to these rings? And it's absolutely an investment that has a huge return. It's the very least we can do. When you think about, a simple fender bender these days can be $5,000 to $10,000. You start talking about miles and miles and miles without any incidents at all. It's an incredible financial, really, accomplishment for us.
And this one is actually, we saved the special one for last. Brian Wisman is actually a top instructor here at the RTA at this point, and he actually has already been inducted into the Million Mile Club. But Brian has reached 25 years of safe driving this year. Obviously well over the million miles, and we wanted to make a special plaque for him that says not Million Mile Club, but 25 years of safe driving. So, and he is also getting a ring, and his ring has 3 diamonds in it.
I want to see that.
So you might want to show that one.
You guys saw it too. We're going to celebrate.
And also, I wanted to point out that Brian actually is the only active employee at this point in time who has this high of a safety record. So, special recognition for Brian.
Okay, so that's 5 years.
This is a Ruby. That's my first stuff. Congratulations.
And then lastly, I wanted to mention the 2 individuals that are being inducted this year that could not make it today. Mr. Doug Edwards and Ms. Sandra Thompson. They will also be given their rings and their plaques, but they were unable to make it today. So wanted to make sure that they didn't go uncongratulated for their efforts.
Thanks a lot. Just to wrap this up, gentlemen, congratulations. To echo what Allison was saying, and then Mark Donaghy, you know, from time to time we end up in the media, but really unsung heroes here at RTA. Can't say enough about what you've done. Me professionally and personally, I've watched you progress through your careers. You are professionals, and we really appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
And just one more plug for Safety and Wellness Day, June 17th, 10 to 2. Hope to see you guys there.
This is always, as I said, such a wonderful part of a meeting. I hate to see this part of the meeting come to an end. So congratulations again, and also thank you so much for representing the RTA in such an outstanding manner. And may you have many, many healthy years of wearing your rings and good fortune. Thank you very much.
I know they're going to commit to another 25 years with us.
Moving right along, we now get to the committee reports, the Finance, Planning, and Personnel Committee. Sharon.
That's easy for me to say. At the first word. The Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees met for a jointly held meeting on May 19th, and as a result, the Finance Personnel Committee is recommending 4 action items for the board's consideration. Action item number 2, benefits consultant. The purpose of this procurement is to contract with a benefits and insurance consultant for a 3-year period with 2 one-year option periods. The consultant is to assist in procuring insurance benefits for all eligible employees, including medical, dental, life, and disability insurance. Ms. Allison Ledford provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in today's board package. Allison is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract to McGowan Brabender for benefits consulting services. The contract is for 3 years with 2 one-year options. Year 1 and 2 are priced at $40,000 each, and year 3 will cost $42,000, for a total of $122,000. Option year 1 is $42,000 and option year 2 is $44,000, resulting in a grand total of $208,000. The procurement will be funded with operating funds.
I second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Action item number 2 is approved.
Action item number 3, third-party claims management. This procurement seeks a qualified third-party administrator to provide claims management services for our state-funded and self-insured workers' compensation claims. The successful administrator will handle all claims management services required by the Greater Dayton RTA. Example of the services provided include assistance in determining compensability, coordinating independent medical examinations, legal representation at administrative hearings, and actuarial services. Ms. Ledford provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in your board package. Allison is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract to Hunter Consulting Company for third-party claims management. The contract is for 3 years with 2 one-year options. Year 1, 2, and 3 are priced at $48,000 each for a total of $144,000. Option years 1 and 2 are $49,440 each, resulting in a grand total of $242,880. Funding for this procurement is included in the operating budget.
Okay, motion has been made. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Edward. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstention? Action item number 3 is approved.
Action item number 4, electric trolley bus pole foundation installation. The purpose of this procurement is to contract with a qualified firm for the installation of pole foundations and trolley poles. The affected locations are South Main Street, Apple Street, and Smithville Road, as well as additional miscellaneous needs that will occur. The successful contractor will coordinate the timing of the projects in conjunction with RTA and the City of Dayton, and will provide all labor, material, equipment, licensed survey work, permits and fees, and traffic control required to successfully complete the project. This procurement is part of the general overhead system improvements and encompasses a 5-year time frame. Mr. Bob Brzezinski provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in your board package. Bob is available to answer any questions you may have at this time. Based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract to Capital Electric Line Builders for the electric trolley bus pole foundation installation in the not-to-exceed amount of $1,694,554. This procurement will be funded 80% through federal grant funds.
Motion has been made by Sharon. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Vince. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Action item number 4 is unanimously approved.
Action item number 5, Trapeze Annual Maintenance Agreements. On an annual basis, the Greater Dayton RTA contracts with Trapeze Software Group, Incorporated, for the support of RTA-owned Trapeze software. At this time, the MIS department desires to renew maintenance agreements with Trapeze for a variety of software products covering a 5-year period. Mr. Hank Trimble provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in your board package. Hank is available to answer any questions you may have at this time. Based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract to Trapeze Software Group, Incorporated, for the maintenance of Trapeze software products for a 5-year period in the total amount of $1,440,000 $40,187. Software maintenance is included in the operating budget.
Motion made by Sharon. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, John, second the motion. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Action item number 5 is unanimously approved.
That completes the action items. However, additional financial items to discuss were financial statements and sales and use taxes. At the meeting, Mrs. Mary Stanford reported that for April 2015, RTA's net gain after local depreciation is $49,125 compared to a budgeted loss of $83,738. The positive variance of $132,863 is mostly due to lower diesel fuel expense. April 2015 year-to-date net gain after local depreciation is $326,323 compared to a year-to-date budgeted loss of $574,542. Actual performance is tracking very favorably as compared to budget as a result of higher federal assistance and investment revenues, and lower operating expenses for wages and benefits, contract services, and diesel fuel. Higher materials and supplies expense partially offset the favorable variances. For sales tax, Ms. Stanford stated that February 2015 sales tax receipts are $370,000 higher than February of 2014. This equates to a 13.3% increase. Year-to-date February receipts are up $431,000, or 7.9%. Sales tax is going well for us. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sharon. We were all very impressed and extremely pleased, I guess is the right word, that we had that 13% increase in sales tax. It was totally unexpected because the press has always reported consistently that sales during these months were flat. So we anticipated that our numbers would be flat. The fact that Montgomery County was up 13% is not 13% is not only good for us, but it's good for the county in total. We hope that that will continue. The other good thing with regard to sales tax, since we watch it so closely, is the fact that for the month of May, we're told that car sales have been up substantially across the nation. How that impacted Montgomery County, we don't know. And since we don't know the information for 3 months, it will be 3 months after May, we will know then what that has done to us here at Montgomery County. But we're heavily dependent upon sales tax, and we certainly need that money to pay for the new buses that we approved ordering over $100 million, as I have reported in the past. So thank you for that great report. I hope we'll be able to come back every month and tell you that the sales tax continues to go up over that which we budgeted. Okay, moving on then to the Planning Committee report. Janet.
Thank you. As stated earlier, the Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees met for a jointly held meeting on May 19th, and as a result, the Planning Committee would like to recommend 2 action items for the board's consideration. Action item number 6, Greater Dayton RTA bylaws update. The purpose of this action item is to update the Greater Dayton RTA's bylaws document. The last bylaws document update was in March 2009. The Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees discussed suggested bylaws edits and updates, and based on that, I move to approve the updated bylaws document as reflected in your board packet.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Adrian. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Item number 6 is unanimously approved.
Okay. Action item number 7 is the 2015 additional service improvements. The purpose of this action item is to approve additional service increases for 2015 implementation. In December 2014, the Greater Dayton RTA Board of Trustees approved the capital and operating budgets for the year 2015, and within the operating portion of the budget was approval to increase service levels at an annualized cost up to $900,000. Since that time, the RTA has continued to experience significant growth in service extension and service addition requests, and many relate to the need to access jobs that are growing in our region. A presentation was made on March 31st at the Planning Committee meeting and the May 19th Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committee joint meeting, which highlighted additional services requests and illustrated in our board, which is illustrated in our board packet. Additional service includes earlier trips in the morning, additional service to the job center, improved service to job opportunities at Austin Landing and Byers Road in Miamisburg, and additional service to Collective Brands Payless in Brookville. This new service, in addition to the pre-approved service increases, will not exceed the budgeted amount up to $900,000 for year 2015 due to the timing of planned implementation. This additional service represents an additional annualized service cost increase of approximately $799,575. And I move to support the implementation of this expanded service plan as summarized in your board packet.
Motion has been made. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, second by Sharon. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Action item number 7 is approved.
And I do have a couple of discussion items.
Please.
Okay. Mr. Eckler discussed RTA's participation in the National Bike to Work Day held at Riverscape on May 15th. He also discussed the recent RTA shuttle operations to the Hamvention event at Hare Arena, where preliminary reports show over 14,000 passenger chips were recorded for this event. Mr. Eckler also discussed the RTA keynote sponsorship of the 13th Annual I-70-75 Economic Development Summit and outreach efforts to the East Dayton Senior Center and Wright State's April Craze event. Mr. Eckler also provided an update on the Read on RTA program and reported on the positive RTA bus riding social media post from the cast of the production Wicked. This concludes my report, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Eckler and I are happy if you have any questions.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, we'll move right along. We now get to the Chief Executive Officer's report.
I don't think that's formal yet, Franz. Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple informational items. We talked about bike share already. Things are going pretty well, I think. We're having some minor issues with the bikes. Our folks are on top of that, and we're working with Trek and B-Cycle in terms of the warranty provisions that are provided there. But overall, I think we've had a good kickoff, maybe a little better than we thought in the first week. But it's going well, and I want you to know that, especially you, Franz. You may have read by now or seen in the media that, as predicted, Congress only gave us a 2-month extension of the federal funding bill. Very disappointing news, but absolutely expected. There's still some debate as to whether they can put together a long-term bill here in the next 2 months. I'm not a believer that that's going to happen either. Again, because the issue remains how to fund the bill. There seems to be a general consensus that everybody wants a 6-year bill, but there's no way to fund it without either raising the gas tax or finding a new source of revenue. So we'll see what happens, but we'll keep you apprised of that. A couple months ago, you awarded the contract to Clever Devices. That's for our ITS overhaul. They've already been here. We had a kickoff meeting last week. It went over several days, and I was really impressed. One of the owners showed up for the meeting to demonstrate, how committed they are to the project, and we're really excited about that. We'll have it all wrapped up in 18 months. Mr. Project Manager. It's a very tight time frame to get all of it done. but he's going to, hold their feet to the fire. But it's going to be a great project, and as I said before, great number of improvements for us internally, especially with the new radio system, things like that, and for our customers as well, access to much better information, such as real-time information on vehicles, so that will be great. Next week, just so you know, I'm making a presentation. I'm on a panel for the Greater Ohio Policy Center's meeting in Columbus related to diversifying Ohio's transportation system. It's going to be a pretty interesting group, including some former state elected officials. Ross McGregor's going to be on the panel, and people from all over the state. So it's going to be fun. I'm obviously representing the public transit interest, and that will be great. It's also time for the Opta annual meeting, and even though I have a limited role these days, I still think it'll be a great event for us and the staff that are able to attend. Read on. RTA was mentioned earlier. You may recall that we had set a goal this year, which I was worried was pretty aggressive, of 10,000 books that we would get. It was reported to me this week we're over 14,500 at this point. We've had some help with that, but the community has really rallied around this project. And it's one of the more fun things I think we've been involved in, because it's been great, and it's obviously for a great cause, to stop the problem where kids fall into that gap in the summer, and if they don't read through the summer, they have troubles when they get back to school in the fall. So we're really excited to be a part of it. It's going to continue to go on, and it's been really neat, to see kids get books in their hands and think, wow, I can take this home, it's mine. So that's a great deal of fun. One last item. I really want to thank the board for stepping up. I know I may have surprised a few of you at the committee meeting when I said I recommend we do all the proposals that were in the service additions. I think it's a really good point in time for us to do what we've wanted to do for a long time, and that's grow a little more than we have, start getting a little larger again, and all of this is being invested back into the community in new service. It means these guys are going to have some new friends to join them. We're going to have to hire some more operators, which is a good thing. If we can connect more people to jobs as well, I think it's good for us, good for the community, and great that we're able to get ourselves back in a financial situation where we can talk about growth again. We've been doing these little bits and pieces for some of the job access trips, but this is a pretty significant investment for the community, and I know Frank will be talking to the media soon about what all is involved, when it's going to happen, and why we've gone ahead with the recommendations that are on the table. It'll be a great thing. But again, thank you for your leadership to support our recommendations going forward. And thanks to the entire planning department. I thought Michelle did a great job in presenting at the Joint Committees meeting. They've done a lot of work getting us to where we are today, and I think we're going to see good results delivered from these additions. So unless there are questions, that's all I have to report.
Thank you, and it's something, as Mark has mentioned, we wanted to extend our services for a long period of time. There are a lot of financial considerations that go into extending services. As is consistent with all RTAs our size, fares cover approximately 15% of the cost. So therefore, we have to look for the added money to make up the other 85% to cover the cost of those additions. The fact that we are having good collections in the sales tax, and the fact that in the last several years, things have gone well for us here at the RTA, we felt it appropriate for us to expand the services, which we wanted to do for a long time. And if financial matters continue to improve, it is our goal to extend services even further. So thank you for being with us and so patient over the years when we had to cut back in services because of financial considerations. But now, as Mark has mentioned, we're moving forward and expanding those services again. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from other board members? Okay, hearing none. We now get to old business. Is there any old business that has to be addressed? Okay, now we have one item on a new business. Under the bylaws, we're required to approve members to the various committees. Last month, we had the very good fortune of welcoming John Lumpkin to the board. John has been appointed to the Planning Committee, so we thought it's appropriate that we bring all the committee assignments before the board, not only to approve John's admission to the Planning Committee, but also to go over and repeat everyone who is on the various committees. For the Planning Committee, Janet Jones will continue to chair that committee, and the other members will be Sharon Howard, Edward Depth, and certainly John Lumpkin. The Finance and Personnel Committee, that will be chaired by Sharon Hairston. Other members include Adrian Hurd, Vince Corrado, Dave Williamson, and myself. And in the Investment Advisory Committee, Dave Williamson will be chairing that, and the other members on that committee are Sharon Hairston, myself, Mark Donahue, and Mary Stanford. So I'll entertain a motion that we approve the committee assignments as just read.
So moved.
Moved by Sharon,
I'll second.
second by Adrian. Are there any questions or comments to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? That carries. Thank you very much. And we now get to the public comment section, and as I look through the names, certainly several people have been here before. They know the rules, but there's also some, I think, fairly newer people wanting to speak today. So I think it's important that we repeat. We'll have 3 minutes to make a comment. We, as always in the past, if it takes longer than 3 minutes, you'll have to stop at 3 minutes, but we encourage you to stay after the meeting to talk to the staff members for any other comments you may have. If there are concerns you want to express, we always recommend that those concerns should be expressed immediately when an event happens that you believe should be brought to our attention, as compared to putting it off and waiting until the next board meeting to state those things. So you have 3 minutes. When I ask you to come to the microphone, please state your name and the address, after which the 3-minute time period will start. The next one is Mary Miller, and I trust you're making comments on your behalf?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I had asked previously, I think it was a March meeting, about the new generation buses that are...
Should she identify herself?
Should I actually get my 3-minute thing, or...
Well, you haven't identified yourself.
Okay.
Name and address.
My name is Mary Miller. I live at 215 McDaniel Street, apartment 604, Dayton, Ohio 45404. I and Ms. Smothers are also part of the RTA committee for the Community Action Partnership. A lot of times we have people stop us on the street, I guess because they've seen us on Dayton TV or different activities that we go to with the Community Action Partnership, Advocacy and Education Council. These were things that were given to Ms. Smothers and myself. We have brought this before to the board's attention that there are rumors, innuendos, statements that are floating out there that RTA has owed monies back to the drivers that has not been paid. We have also been told different things when people walk up and say, well, my bus is not coming, or the bus driver leaves me every day and just drives by. I've seen it out there. People bring it to us, so we bring it to the board. Now, Ms. Smothers, that was her reason for bringing that one. I had asked about the new generation buses, and I received information about the buses that they are not completely a dual mode bus, but actually a bus that has a dual mode generator, and the generator can be switched over. It is not completely operative. It is for emergencies only. Supposedly, it can climb a hill at no more than 38 miles per hour. No. It can't climb a hill and doesn't run more than 38 miles per hour on flat ground. One of the issues that I brought, that if this bus is worth $1.4 million and each one ordered is going to cost this much, it's not going to really work in the Miami Valley because we do have a lot of hills. Going to the Dayton Mall, the bus was seen going in the emergency lane because it couldn't climb the hill. They had to ride up on the brim until it got to the exit. Now, the other question I had was about this being a covered-up situation, or is this something that we are able to go to the bus company and say, look, we ordered dual-mode buses with a diesel engine as well as the capability to run on electric? And if not, shouldn't it have been an oversight before we ordered so many buses? Because the new budget of the $115 million purchase, do we know what we're actually getting, and is it the same bus? Was the order changed? And if it was not changed, can it be changed? All of these are concerns because we have a lot of hills, and if you're getting a bus that's not going to work in our area, then it's a problem. The problem has been brought about that we have problems with air conditioning, we have problems with climbing the hill. Are these problems that are being resolved before we actually sink all that money in? I know my time is coming to an end, so I'll wait for someone to respond.
Mark?
Sure, I'm happy to respond. These are prototype units. We own 4 of those. The board has not authorized any further purchases of buses. And the whole point of having these prototypes is to make determinations as to whether they can operate in the service that we have on the street. They are a true dual-mode bus. The description you were given is not really accurate, but I would refer you to Bill on technically how the bus operates when it's on or off the wire. Have there been some problems? Sure. Every prototype there are issues, and that's why we're having a test period so that we wouldn't ask the board to invest any more money in the project until we're comfortable that we have a bus that we feel confident in. If we don't, we have options to recommend going a different direction totally. We could buy no buses from this organization, we could buy them somewhere from someone else, or we could ask them to make changes if we feel changes are necessary to the units as they are. So they're in a test mode right now, and in some cases that means we've loaded them down with thousands of pounds of weight, and we put them out on the street in some pretty tough situations just to see exactly what they can do. So have there been some issues? Yeah, there have been, and we'll be reporting back to the board on how they've been operating, generally speaking, but you can't expect to have any bus come on the property to roll out and be perfect, especially one this new, but that's the whole point of it. So there's no risk of committing any further dollars until we get the answer here. Now, the trolley bus system itself is critically important to this system in a lot of ways, not the least of which is the revenues we receive because we have a trolley bus system. So our goal is to preserve the system and the funding that comes with it and continue to deliver service. But if there are specific questions, Bill can talk to you or we can talk to you later on about the bus itself. We have identified a lot of issues, including infrastructure issues that we have where we probably need to get more voltage in certain areas of the system, just generally speaking, because the system infrastructure itself in some cases is 100 years old. So at this point, I guess I could go on, but the point is they're prototypes for a reason. That's why we structured this the way we did, and that we will do our due diligence before we make a recommendation one way or another to the board. But one more time, just so it's clear, we have no obligation, or the board has no obligation, to buy bus number 5. We've not committed any more dollars than it takes to get the first 4 in here, and we'll be very careful about where we go from here as far as the recommendations.
Miller, if you have any further questions, I recommend you wait until after the meeting, discuss it with staff. Thank you. The next person is Gary Rice.
Hi, my name is Gary Rice. I live at 553 Daytona Parkway, apartment 5 in Dayton, Ohio, Montgomery County. I've been speaking with Mr. Frank Eckler for a little bit, and I have a little good thing. I've wondered and pondered, has the RTA ever thought about the idea of bus service to the various amusement parks in our area? And I'm asking that because if not, I have thought about this for a few years, and I have a business idea of possibly renting buses or partnering with the RTA for transportation of local buses to the various amusement parks.
Short answer is yes. A couple years ago, I think one of your interests is Kings Island. A few years ago, we had a discussion with an organization that was working on a summer youth program for employment purposes. That one did not pan out, but Frank would be more than happy to meet with you, Gary, and see what you've got.
Thank you, Gary.
I'll be back and talk. Sure.
Thank you. The next person is Matthew Lee.
Yes, my name is Matthew Lee. My address is 1921 South Gettysburg, the Men's Gateway Shelter. I'm speaking on behalf of some of the guys out there.
Are you speaking on your behalf?
Yeah, I've gotten nicknamed Mr. RTA because I kind of informed the guys what buses to use and all over the place. And we could really benefit with, especially really increased services on the weekends, because we've kind of called that place purgatory. There's almost no service on the weekends. And we're all stuck out there trying to figure out what to do with ourselves. There are a lot of fighting, and just, it's a real frustrating situation. I mean, yes, the guys that can make it to bus 9 do it, but there we are also getting a lot of guys who are getting attacked going out to bus 9. And we are very thankful for the 22 that runs out there as much as it does, and the 24 that when it does come out. But I mean, there's a great period of time that, okay, if we do get out during the week, we're stuck until 4:26 before we can get back out there. So there's some of us that, I mean, so you got a 9 o'clock appointment and you get out, you got to wait all day downtown before to 4:30 before we can get back out there. If you can, or you catch the 9 out there. If you can make it from Nicholas Road back down Broadcast Boulevard back to the shelter. I mean, we could really use the increased buses. I mean, there are some of them that don't ride the buses because, I mean, there's not enough, there's a great need for it. I mean, there's a lot more guys that want to use it. I mean, there's a lot of guys that would love to go to their churches, but since they've become homeless, they're like, we're losing hope. We're stuck out here. We have no way to get out sometimes. And it's just, we would, I mean, it'd be a real appreciation to get more service out there. The weekends is mainly the most part. We could really use that. We've got like 1 or 2 buses that come out on Saturday and Sunday, and that's the 24. There's probably about 50 or 60 of us at least that can't make it to Nicholas like me. I can't walk from out to South Gettysburg down to Nicholas. It's just not physically possible. I mean, it's a real need. I mean, it also, I mean, there was talk at one time that we could use the shelter, an overhang out there at that bus stop. I mean, oh, okay.
Frank, do you want to respond to that? I believe we just approved additional service to the Gateway.
Yeah, and we can meet after the meeting to talk about some of the trips that are available, so.
Yeah, that was one of our action items today, when we talked about increased service.
And I would say too, this gentleman, might wish to consider, conditional eligibility for project mobility. One of the challenges for Frank's team is if you look at the walk distance from the Gateway shelter to the buses that don't come into the shelter, it's not any further or much further in some cases than areas that, because of our changes in 2007, people now have to walk every day to access the other routes. So it is a challenge, but that may be an option as well, because I know you have some mobility issues. Which can be true in many parts of our service area.
And I think that would be appropriate to contact the police department for added security in that area. Okay. That puts an end to the public speaking requests. We now move on to board member comments or announcements. Does any board member have any comment or announcement?
Sir, do we have Ms. Bitzinger?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're absolutely correct. I'm sorry. I apologize to you.
My name's Carla Pitzinger. I live at 3329 Shady View Road in Lorraine. And I just want to say some good things, a few things concerned. That's my complaints I've had continuing with these 2 bus drivers. Some things have gotten better, other things have gotten worse. So I was told to stand in the back of the bus by one of the bus drivers that had an issue with my cart. And I got a little piffed at that. I felt like Rosa Parks a little bit, because I asked him why. And he says, well, because it's another lady with the cart there. But I said, there's only 6 people on the bus. And he wouldn't reply. But he told me twice to stand in the back of the bus in the exit way. I said, no, I'm not going to here. And he just continued chatting with his girlfriend that stands at the front of the bus. I made a complaint about that. No, nothing's addressed about it, so I just left it alone. He did take, he was helpful getting 2 guys back to the gateway before 7 p.m. curfew. He went off the route to do that. I didn't complain or anything about that. But what I'm saying is, if someone's going to be picking on me or not giving me a good reason why, I don't want to violate rules. But I'm also knowing, I'm when I ask a driver why, I expect a good, reason and not to be ignored about it. And to me, that's a safety issue with me here. If I have to stand on a bus, I will. But if there's plenty of room to sit and I'm not blocking the entranceway, I do. Mr. Jerry Gustin gave me a permit card saying my cart. He took a picture of my little cart, which takes about as much room as a small walker. So I had permission. So the next time I had problems with him, he would, leave me alone here. But I got really piffed with that. But I wanted to let you guys know. So I'm just letting him know. I thought it was just me, but a few days ago, an elderly black lady had to ask to kneel the bus because these 2 guys never kneel the bus. And I just, Jesse from operations called me a week ago, and I talked to him, and I just asked him, let them kneel the bus. 99% of the other drivers kneel the bus. What these 2 guys never do. And I never asked because, I just don't want a confrontation. But I noticed this lady right behind me, elderly lady, he was chatting with his friend, didn't notice that she needed to have the bus knelt down. She asked, and that's the first time I've ever heard anybody ask to have the bus knelt down. I've asked people for, okay.
Thank you.
Can I just confirm, you say you did file complaints on those issues?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure they're in the system here.
The lady not asking for me, that was her situation, so I didn't.
We'll follow through. Absolutely, that's a behavior we would not allow.
Again, I apologize for skipping over you inadvertently, so. The next thing is board member comments. Are there any board member comments?
I have one comment. I think Mr. Lee, was that the gentleman's name?
Yes.
Mr. Lee, I'm so glad to hear a comment that we could say we've already solved it. With your request, because we've been concerned about that, we've been talking about it. The staff had come up with a solution that they included in a proposal to us that was presented to us last month. We went forward with it, we've approved it today, and I don't know when it goes into effect because, again, that's an operational item, but it has been approved. So hopefully that will address your concerns.
I also have a comment, I guess on behalf of the Board of Trustees. I'd like to extend our deepest sympathy to you, Gene, on the loss of your father. Any other board comments?
Mr. President, I do. I want to again congratulate the team on the bike share. It, I think, has been a great success. It was one of those things that you hear the phrase, if you build it, they will come. Well, we were all nervous if they would come, and boy, they did. And it has, I think, just speaking anecdotally, I've ridden them. I do want to share a comment that Mrs. Smothers made. I was equally as disappointed when I went to take my grandson and he couldn't ride because we found out that he was not old enough and there wasn't a bike his size. So I know that we're just starting. I know that we're working out the bugs, but in the future, if at all practical, it would be great to see some accommodation made for those folks that are able to ride bikes, but not quite adults yet. So,
sure.
Thank you, Dave. Any other comments? There's no need for a request for executive session. Our next scheduled committee meeting is June 16th here at the RTA building, and our next board meeting is scheduled for July 7th. If there's no further business to come before the board, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So motioned.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries.